All right, today I'm joined by Eddie Patton, my one of my favorite fitness instructors, and I'm glad that we finally got a chance to do this podcast. It's been in the works for a while, so I think since September, I believe, but
Yeah, I
thankful that
think
we
so.
got the chance to do it today. Mr. Patton, how are you?
I'm doing well, Danny. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it and really excited to be here. Yeah, and I'm super glad we finally got time to do this. Had to be the end of the semester, but better late than never, huh?
Exactly, yes, sir, yes, sir. Well, I just want to go ahead and have some share some space with you now to just introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about you, where you're from, how long you've been at UNO, what do you do, stuff like that.
Yeah, my name's Eddie Panton, and I've been an instructor here at UNO for 11 years in the spring. So at time's gone by pretty fast. I'm originally from Boulder, Colorado. So
Okay.
I moved here about, I don't know, 16 years ago. And I came back to UNO and got my degree in K through 12 physical education. And I got my master's in special education with a concentration in behavior disorders. And after I got finished with that degree, one of my professors, Dr. Meseral here, offered me a position here. It's kind of like a hybrid position that they were trying out here, and so he hired me on. And ever since, I've been here. I teach mainly a lot of half lecture classes, like the class you take, Fitness for Living, some theory classes, both theory classes. Then I also do half physical, like activity classes, like weight training, cross training, advanced weight training, basketball, you name it. I
Oh yeah.
teach. So I do a lot here. I teach about 7 classes every semester, so it's pretty busy, 7 different classes. But it's the best job in the world, and I would never do anything less. Yeah, it's great.
Oh man, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he recognized that he made one of the best decisions by hiring you on.
Yeah,
You're a very personal guy. I think that's why I was kind of drawn to you the
yeah,
first time we spoke. And I mean, I've always appreciated that about you, given all the people you have in your class.
yeah,
For the first time you remembered my name, which was like day two, I took the class and I said, "Wow, he already remembered my name."
yeah. I try really hard at that. Yeah, I think that's very important to know everyone's name and greet them at the door like I try to do every day. So just those little things I think are very important.
Well, I do too, and I think it's a quick way to build some camaraderie with your students too. And
Yeah,
like I said, I definitely appreciate that aspect of you.
yeah,
And well, without further ado, we just want to go ahead and sort of jump into the questions. Of course, we use sports as a metaphor to relay spiritual truths, but also just to convey practical lessons in life. And one of the things that I guess when you think about sports, one of the primary things you think about with athletes is being fit and being well, whether that's mentally, physically, spiritually. Uh,
hmm
I want to get into this idea of fitness, right? And so, why number one, why fitness? Why did you become a fitness instructor?
Well, that wasn't always the case. I have another degree as well in finance and economics, and
Ooh,
yeah, I was the head securities trader at Sun America Securities for quite a while, um, and that was really stressful. I gained about 45 pounds,
man,
just out of shape, and I was always really physically active, but sitting at that job for 90-hour weeks, and I wasn't happy. So that's when we moved out here, and I came back to school to become originally a PE teacher, physical education teacher. So um, but I got the opportunity to teach at a university, which is even probably better. So, but being physically active has always been important to me. We had kids, obviously, you know how that is. Having
yeah,
kids, it kind of puts your health in the back burner, and I started to see side effects from that. You know, getting sick all the time, being lethargic all the time. It just wasn't for me. So I decided to come back and do something where I am active in the office all day long. So,
right,
um, and yeah, and God did this for a reason. Put me here, and I'm physically active all day long. I'm hardly ever in my office,
yeah,
and it's such an important part of my life. And I try to portray that in my classes. I've been through a lot, you know, physically, mentally. You know, my health. I've seen what's done to my parents. I've seen what's done to my sister. So it's kind of important for me. And being physically fit is, I think, one of the most important things you can do in your life. Not only physically, but you know, like you said, mentally and emotionally, and other dimensions of your life as well.
oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I remember you talking about, I think at the very beginning when we went through chapter one was you kept mentioning how we need to make fitness like a part of our lifestyle.
Yep.
And I've always considered myself to be decently fit guy, but after taking the class, like I've incorporated fitness in just a wider spectrum of our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking about my family, but
Hmm.
everything we do, we increase our walk time. We try to wash the dishes by hand more rather than just throw them over into the dishwasher.
Hmm.
Just a little things. Go pick up our groceries
Yeah.
instead of getting someone to shop for us and then
Yeah.
have them to put it in
Exactly.
the car.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah.
So I mean, those things they help, and I think one of the big questions that people have about uh fitness is like, what does it mean to be fit, and is it limited to just the physical?
No, it's not. I think the meaning of being fit is different for everyone. For me, being fit at my age is being able to play with my kids, and being able to still do walk on my hands, so I can do that with my daughter and do backhands, back flips, do muscle ups, climb up a rope without my legs. Um, all those things. That's for me. That's me being fit, and because I wasn't fit before and I did not like it, and I never want to go back there.
Right.
But I'm also fit mentally and spiritually. I've grown over the past 3 years, especially in my spiritual, and not fitness, but spiritually, I've grown immensely. Even in my workouts, I pray like to God.
Mhm.
That's just part of my life now, and I'm better emotionally. I have better relationships with the people I work out with, my family and friends. So it can mean multiple things to different people. But a lot of people, they think fit. Yes, it is physically, and that's a huge part of our lives. And I stated in our class, we were born to move.
Right.
We were born to sit down all day long and watch TV and play video games. We have to keep moving to stay alive. If we don't, that's when we start, falling apart and dying when we're not moving.
That's true.
So yeah, you can be fit in a lot of the dimensions, but physical is a big one, and nutrition is another one. I'm sure we'll talk about too. But you know, so
So what about these because I mean I see you work out all the time. Sometimes I'm in the gym, sometimes I'll be walking past the
yeah,
gym and I'll notice you in there, or I'll see you walking really fast down the stairs or something like that. And
I'm a
I
fast
mean
walker. I
I
got
know
short legs. I got to keep up.
that's all right, man. I don't know. I've always been a sort of naturally slower walker,
Yeah, yeah.
but the first day I walked next to you, I was like, oh yeah, oh man, I gotta keep up. But I mean, so my wife and I was talking, and she would ask me questions like, man, what kind of exercises do I need to do like for my body type in order to
Hmm.
lose weight but build muscle, or to gain more muscle without being too bulky, what kind
Right.
of exercises? And so I've sort of put that in a question for you. I mean, what are some examples of the types of exercises that are specific maybe to building muscle or increasing endurance, etc.?
Well, there are some basic exercises there are to build muscle. You can do like the bicep curls. Everything you do, lifting any type of weight is going to build muscle. It just depends how often you do it. And also, again, nutrition plays a huge role in that. And there are just some body types that you're not going to build muscle. I mean, women in general will not get big and bulky. It's just not in the genetics. Like some of those CrossFit women, they are big, but they work out 9 hours a day. They work
Yeah,
out, a long time. The nutrition's right on par and everything. That's a rare case. They're outliers. But for normal people, we won't get huge. There's no way I can get big as some of those guys down the weight room that you've probably seen. It's not in my genetics. But I know I'm fit, you know, and I want to stay that way because I know how important it is. But different exercises, and I think you have to play around with what's good for you, because you're going to respond to different types of stimuluses in the gym. Um, I was going in and doing, like the straight set training and superset training where you go in and do
mhm,
back one day, or periodization, you go back one day, legs, and I just wasn't seeing the results. Probably because I wasn't getting the cardio in like I should. So I wasn't seeing the gains, I wasn't eating right. But finally, I've been playing around with this for a long time, so I kind of found where I need to be in order to get strength and work on my heart, capacity and all that kind of stuff. But it's different for everyone. It might be Kusama for some people. I mean, I've tried that, and that's not for me. That's too hard for me. And I do some hard stuff, and that was really intense. So yeah, I found what works for me, and that's CrossFit. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. I can't really do anything else. I do accessory work where I do go in and say I'll do bicep curls one day, and I'll do shoulder presses or lat pulls or leg presses, whatever. So I will do that accessory work, but it won't be an hour of it because I get bored with it. So,
Mm,
so again, it's different for everyone. That's why I think there's so many different types of exercises out there and different clubs like Orange Theory and Gold's Gym and Kosama. So there's all those different variants that people, try out so they can find what fits for them. Like kickboxing, that's a great workout too. And your body might respond just as well to kickboxing. You've seen some of those boxers. I mean, they're
yeah,
amazingly and super fit and strong, and I'm sure they're not doing a lot of barbell work.
sure.
So yeah, it just depends. Everyone has a different body type. Yep.
Yeah, one of the things I thought about too was, at least for me in my personal workout. So I do a lot of Olympic lifting, and
Yep.
then towards the end, I don't do as much cardio, but I do hit training at the end of
Okay.
my workout.
Yep.
And I found that to work better for me than to do like 20 minutes of cardio, because it's like I still have to lift weights
Yeah.
with my cardio portion of it
Yeah.
in the hit training. And I mean, usually I'm exhausted by the end, but my body responds to it very well. And it took me about 3 or 4 years to figure that out,
Yeah. Yeah. It takes
because I would
time.
just do cardio and it wasn't doing anything for me. Like I would still have the handles on the side. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, what
Yeah.
is going on?
That was with me too. How many people like to go in there and just do cardio? It's boring. But I love hits. Those are awesome. Yeah, and that's kind of like what CrossFit is. I mean, today's workout, it was a doozy. I mean, I'm always surprised by the workouts we do. So today was we repetitions were 24, 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3 of deadlifts, bench press, and squat cleans. So you have to do 24 and go down that ladder of the numbers. So deadlifts were body weight, deadlift your body weight, and then half your body weight with the bench press and a quarter of your weight with the squat cleans. So
Mm,
30 minutes to try to get through that whole thing. And that was one of the hardest workouts I've ever done. I collapsed on the floor for about 5 minutes and could not get up because your heart rate's up that entire time. You're doing the resistance training, you're working on your heart rate capacity, so you're working on endurance. So I got everything in one workout in less than 30 minutes. So that's what
man.
I like. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Oh my goodness. And so do you have to go to a gym, or I mean, you have
Yeah,
those
I go
workouts?
to, I go to a gym.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called CrossFit Viral. It's like 163rd and Maple.
Yeah, I heard it
Um,
before.
yeah, so I work out at 5:30 in the morning. That's the only time I really have time. Sometimes I'll get down here, but I go there. I stop for a while and worked out here a lot, but I need that. I need that challenge, that competition, and I need to interact with adults too.
Right.
you know, so this 5:30 a.m. group has been together for since the gym opened like 10 years ago. So that's
Man,
why.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, it's like I said, and I love how you explain that it depends. It's different for everyone.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, for all of those who will be listening to the episode, just please, please, please remember that, because that is one of the most important things. We see stuff advertised
Yep,
and we're like, man, that person looks really, really good. I'm going to try what they're doing. And then you don't see the results. And the first
yeah.
thing is like, ah,
It
why am I
doesn't
not
work for them.
seeing it?
Yeah, it's not their body type. Yeah, their body's not made to take that kind of stimulus and grow from it.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like all these machines I see on advertised on TV now, the mirrors and stuff like that. Well, first of all, I can't afford it,
Right.
you know. But how many people are going to stick with that for a long time too? And you got to find something you're going to stick with for a long period of time to see the results that you want. And
That's
most of those
true.
programs you see are only for 6 weeks because ideally that's when you start losing the most amount of weight towards the end of those 6 weeks. And then what do you do? You know,
Right. Like, how do you keep it off? Right. Yeah.
keep it up,
Yeah.
especially the intensity some of those programs have throughout the period. You can't keep that up physically.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
for the
that's what I
average,
always thought about too.
yeah, for the average person, there's no way I can keep up Kosama every day. There's just no way. You
So
know,
what is Kusama? Like, what does that entail?
I think they implement a lot of kind of like cross training. They do a lot of jumping up and down and using weights and dumbbells. They do implement kickboxing in there too, so it's
Hmm.
kind of like hit training too. So it's just a bunch of movements in one session.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, I tried it one time. That was enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if that was enough for you, I'm pretty nervous to try it. I'll be interested in trying it though.
Yeah, yeah. I just also went towards CrossFit because a lot of those movements are functional movements. You know, we use them
True.
every day in life. Deadlifts, picking up a box, push press, reaching up and pushing stuff above your head. Doing sit-ups, just getting out of bed, you know,
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
your
You need all
stomach.
of those movements.
Yeah, pull-ups, pulling yourself up on something. It doesn't. So they're all functional movements. So that's why I like it, and that's why we move in everyday life. So that's why I appreciate, it, especially in older age. Bicep curls aren't going to do anything for me nowadays. You know, that's
Yeah.
not a functional movement. You know, I'll get the bicep work by doing cleans and power cleans and stuff like that, and pull-ups. But biceps, I have no reason to do really. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I love practical movements myself.
yeah,
I think they're more beneficial. But
yeah,
when I think about like just working out in general, I know one thing, especially for people in my age group, we just, and I'm just going to speak very general, but
yeah.
we usually don't take seriously this idea of warming up and cooling down. And so
Yes.
I want to, I want to talk to you about that. What does it mean, number one, to warm up and cool down? And then why are these aspects of training so often neglected?
Well, like I mentioned in class, warming up is so important. It doesn't matter what age you warm up. I mean, I teach CrossFit classes for little kids. We spend like 10, 15 minutes just warming up. You know, we play games, but we're warming up. We need to get fresh blood to those muscles. We need to warm up the ligaments around the knees, the shoulders, the elbows, everything. We need to warm them up so they become a lot more supple so we're able to go for the range of motion that we need to do for the movement. And whether it's bicep curls, shoulder presses, whatever it is, you still need to warm up those muscles in order to move properly. Um, so that's the main reason why we warm up to get the heart rate up, get it where it needs to go, so blood's continually going to the heart and the lungs and the muscles, so you can move properly.
Right.
And then cool down's the same thing. After that cool down today at my workout, I was on the bike for 5 minutes, just a nice slow pace, just to get fresh blood, bring the heart rate down where it needs to be, so my muscles don't stiffen up. I would say I remember when I was your age. I mean, I didn't do a warm up or a cool down either. I just went in and worked out.
Yeah.
That was it. I wish I knew back then what I know now. I probably became a better athlete. I played soccer in college too. No one ever told us to
Okay.
cool down after we played soccer or warm up properly. We did it as a team, but why we were doing it, you know.
That makes sense.
But our body needs to have that warm up. It needs to bring the cool down. It can't just stop right away. It shocks the system when we do that. So we need to bring it down to like not homeostasis, but pretty close to what it was before. Yeah.
You know,
And
one of the, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay.
No, one of the things that I didn't know until taking your class was your warm up should consist of certain movements that you're planning to do already. Could you elaborate a
Yeah.
little bit on that?
Yeah. So in the warm up, I always start, when I teach in all my classes, that it needs to have some type of aerobic component of it. You know, whether it's jumping jacks, high knees, whatever it is, and then you do some kind of stretching. And usually that's just walking across the room, grabbing your shin and pulling up to your chest to stretch your hamstrings and your quads, or doing downward dog, so you're stretching your glutes, your hams, and your calves. And then you practice the movement that you're doing in the workout, because why wouldn't you warm up those specific muscles that you're going to be doing in the workout?
Mm,
So that's the components of the warm up. You need aerobic, you need the stretching, and then you're going to bring in the implement of the movements that you're going to be doing in the workout, because that's the muscles you're going to be focusing on. And why would you focus your legs if you're going to be doing pull ups or muscle ups or whatever that day, or push presses, strict presses, or push jerks? So it makes sense. So you don't waste energy, you know, doing what you don't need to, because you're going to need it for the workout.
that's true. And I think before I learned that, I used to do the same
Mm-hmm.
warm up every time before I worked out. And it usually consisted of static stretching
Yeah.
and the bike.
My warm ups are different every day. They're never the same every morning. I might do the same warm up, but over maybe 3 or 4 different days. I'll do them different days, but they're different. I'm either on a bike erg, ski erg, I'm jump roping, I'm doing barbell work. I just warm up with a barbell just to get my muscles warmed up and stretched out. Good mornings, doing air squats. So they're different every time, because I would get bored if I did the same workout or warm up every time. So that's why I
Same
try to
here.
vary my warm ups too. That keeps well. I like this warm up, and you learn something new. So
That's true. And obviously they will provide the body with various benefits too. I guess if a person doesn't know what exercises to do to warm up before doing their workout, then I believe it'll be a little bit difficult for them, especially if they've never been taught what to do. And
yeah,
that's how I was until taking the class. So
yeah. And that last part of the warm up, where we're focusing on the specific movements, it doesn't necessarily. If we're going to do barbell work, we don't necessarily need to use barbells. We use kettlebells or bumper plates. But we're also getting mentally ready. Our brain's getting, that stimulus is like, this is how I need to move during this particular movement when I grab the barbell. So it's always working on your mind as well, besides just physically.
True. So I want to switch gears a little bit. What is stretching like, and what
Well,
benefit does it provide? And I think this is a pretty good one because I've talked to so most of these questions I get them from people in my
yeah,
age group, and most well, I'm not going to say most, but many people in my age group don't truly understand the types of stretching, what these types of stretching like what in what ways do they benefit us? When should we actually do these type of stretches, and for how long, etc. So, if you
yeah.
could just elaborate a little bit on that.
So that's a great question, Daniel. A lot of people, I still see this too. People when they go stretching, just warm up, I see them just sit down and try to touch their toes, or they're doing the arm across their body. That's more like static stretching where they're holding it maybe for 20 to 30 seconds. That's not the best type of stretching because your muscles are really cold, so you might injure yourself doing that. So what's really huge now, and what's the proper way to warm up, is that dynamic stretching. You know, and that's where we do high knees. We're getting the heart rate up. We're moving in the range of motion that we'll be doing in the workout. So we're doing high knees. What's it? Let's see. Butt kicks. We're doing skips. We're doing what I call paint the ceiling and paint the floor. We've done in class. So we're moving the shoulders, to warm up the cavities in our shoulders. So dynamics the best way to do it. Again, bringing that aerobic component and bringing in the stretching part of it. Because when you're doing high knees, what are you doing? You're bringing the heart rate up. What muscles are you focusing on when you're doing high knees? What muscles are working? Your hamstrings, your glutes, your quads, your calf, and explosive. So you're warming up those muscles in a different way, not holding that stretch for a period of time, but doing short, bouts of stretching during the time. So getting that fresh blood to the body. So dynamics the best way to warm up. Boxers do the same thing. That's what they do. They do, jump roping. They're shadowing. Working those muscles. So, a lot of the elite athletes do that. It's a proper way to warm up. But then there's PNF stretching. That usually happens maybe after you work out. If you have a really tight hamstring, where you have someone assist you stretching, where you're doing that eccentric concentric contraction at the same time to stretch that muscle. Like I said, you've seen this on TV. A lot of the athletes, we don't show it anymore because they go in that little hut now. But
Oh
you know,
yeah.
yeah, they're probably stretching their hamstrings, or they pull it, or the calf muscles. When they get a calf muscle or a spasm, you have someone push on the toe, towards your body, so you can stretch that calf. So that's another way of stretching. But what I really work on is mobility work. So I call it, So I use a roller, like a foam roller.
Yeah.
So that might be my warm up one day. I mean, rolling for about 10, 15 minutes, focusing on each muscle group for about 2 minutes. So I'm stretching, rolling my quads. So that's getting fresh blood because you're stimulating that muscle. You're getting the knots out of the muscle fascia, and you're doing that for 2 minutes. So it's really warming up the muscle and stretching in a proper way. It's kind of like dynamic stretching, except the roller is just pushing the muscle, and smashing it the way it's supposed to be moving properly. So you get that flexibility. So I do my lats, whatever I'm doing that day. I'll do my calves. If we're doing a running workout, I'll do my calves, my IT band, my quads, my hamstrings, my glutes. I'll do that for 10, 15 minutes before I even run. And then I'll hop on a bike just to get the more blood to my muscles. So I do a lot of mobility work at home because I'm old. So I have a lacrosse ball, just really cheap implements like a lacrosse ball. It's only like $2. I do that. I bought a Theragun, a really cheap one. I use every night just when I'm watching TV or grading. I'll just use Theragun to smash my muscles and get that soreness out of them. But everyone should be doing some type of mobility work. So ideally, when you do this, your muscles will hurt.
Right. Yeah. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, you've done that before. The mobility, yeah.
Yeah.
In reality, they shouldn't hurt if you're doing that. So
Mm.
if they're hurting, that's telling you need to be doing it because your muscles just so tight and so tensed up. And a lot of times you'll feel like your calves. They get really knotted because we walk on our feet all day long. So our calves are contracting all the time. So you get huge giant knots in those. So when you see when I do mobility work in my classes, we roll the lacrosse ball across their shin and you see their legs bouncing up and down because of those knots in there. And ideally that muscle should be nice and smooth, but
Wow.
it's bouncing up and down because of all the knots in there.
Yeah.
That affects the way your muscles, work out. You don't have that flexibility and range of motion, so your body's getting stressed out and it's causing stress up here because you can't move properly. So there's a whole lot of things that happen when you're not properly, stretched out or warmed up.
Yeah, I know one when you taught us about the I think it like a tennis ball. It wasn't a tennis ball,
This is a
just
crossball.
crossball.
Yeah.
And I came home and of course I bought one. And I
Mm-hmm.
also bought the like it's sort of like a huge blue roller
Yeah, foam roller.
with the
Yeah.
yeah, with the little spikes and stuff around it.
Oh yeah.
And I guess I don't do it enough because man, it hurts like nothing else. Like I
Yeah.
mean, man, like I'm especially when I hit my back,
Lower back. Yeah.
my quads. The worst stretch for me is when I try to get the hip flexor,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been trying to get better at that for like months now, but I didn't realize how important it was until taking the class and then taking the section on stretching
Yeah.
specifically. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people they're not too good with that part.
I spent 2 or 3 classes. I mean, the ball and the foam roll is just one, but using those exercise bands on the rigs to stretch the hip flexors, pop that hip out of the socket a little bit and bringing it back in, and yeah, it's there's a lot of great stuff you can do. Our bodies are just so just tight and stiff, we don't realize it, but then you start doing some of these movements and stretches, then you're like, oh my goodness, I'm in bad shape. you know, it's something that, and again, you're just moving. That's all we're doing. We're moving. To help those
Right.
muscles, recuperate. That's very important. Yep.
Oh, that's true, man. It's just stuff like I said you never think about. And
Mhm.
mostly it's because that you were never taught it, maybe in a formal setting, or you just never learned it, and
Yeah.
so you just kind of used to doing the type of stretching that you grew up learning from someone else, and
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's advanced a long way since I've been in high school, and it's advancing every day. When I go on vacations or I go back home, I try to hit a different gym, a different box every time, because everyone's different. And there's a lot of knowledge out there in those boxes. So I try to learn something new for everyone. So it's kind of cool. I mean, it helps you and helps me and become a better athlete. Yep.
it is, yeah. So let me ask you this then: so of course we mentioned it earlier. You see people on TV, they look fantastic. Their bodies are ideal. They
Yeah.
look like little Greek gods, and everyone wants to be like them. And so, of course, when you have the body, they usually put you up as the standard and say, "Hey, if you
Yeah.
want a body like this, take this protein or do this exercise." And so, we want to talk about body composition then.
Yeah.
First, what is body composition, and then can we improve upon our body composition?
Yeah, well, body composition is the amount of lean mass you have compared to how much body fat you have. So obviously, we want more lean mass, like the muscle in our bodies, rather than fat, obviously. And again, everyone is different. Um, Genetically, we were built differently. So some of us might be bigger boned. We can be hard, we can still be strong, but still have maybe a little more excess fat than normal, because that's just part of genetics. But when I see people on there, comparing themselves to the people on TV, you can't. I mean, it's just most of them are celebrities, obviously. I mean, they have a lot of money, they have time, they have personal trainers, they have probably chefs,
Right.
feed them the proper nutrition. So it's really hard to compare yourself, and I see a lot of people try to do that, and they just can't keep it up. So again, it's just finding what's comfortable for you, and you have to be comfortable with who you are. Body composition. Um, Not to get like personal, but my daughter always, says, "I want to be like you, Dad." Because I'm very fit, and she always sees that, and then she says, "Well, I'm fat." And I go, "No, you're not. That's you get my short and stockiness. That's just the look of the draw. I'm sorry. You just have that athletic build. There's just, that's what it's gonna be. You're not overweight. That's just your genetics. Because she does work out,
Yeah.
but I take excellent care of myself. A lot of blood and sweat and tears and years of hard work has gotten to me where I am. But you got to find what works for you. Again, I believe that nutrition is the center of everything. Physical fitness, emotional fitness, spiritual fitness. That's the main part. If you don't have that down, you can work hard in the gym, but you're not going to see the results you want. You're not going
Right.
to get that 6 pack or whatever you're aiming for. It has to come from that nutrition.
And I mean, and you're absolutely right. And I think I told you about this, but I'll tell everyone who's going to listen to this. He gave us an assignment to watch a documentary called The Game Changers,
Yeah.
and you're talking to someone who's a huge proponent of meat. Like I
Yeah.
just meat in every meal of the day, and
Yeah.
now after watching that, my wife and I buckled down, did a ton of research, And man, I mean, we've actually been on this little vegan thing. We haven't cut out everything. Like, I know I still love ice cream,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I know they have vegan ice cream, but I still eat the dairy,
yeah.
the dairy
Yeah,
ice
that's
cream.
good. That's okay. Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
But yeah, we've the vegan part of it has actually like I saw benefits right away, and
Hmm.
like the plateau I usually hit in the gym where I would usually get tired after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I was able to push past that, and I felt it when I did it, and
Hmm.
I mean it felt really good. It felt
Yeah.
really good, and a diet changing my diet was all I needed to do in order to get over that portion of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Diet has a
Yeah.
lot to do with it.
I first watched that video. I didn't believe it at all either. I was like, okay, that's there's no way I can do that because meat is so important in my diet. Because at the time I was bulking. How do you bulk? How you been told to bulk up?
Eat
Eat
meat. Yep.
meat, eat the chicken, eat the steak. Bacon, eat bacon too.
Yep.
I was like, oh, that's baloney. So, but watching it a couple times, like it does make sense. And I've been doing a lot of research the past couple years, and top doctors in the world, nutritionists in the world, and watching more documentaries. And I don't take anything for granted. I had to do my research. I'm not just going to believe everything.
Same.
And the book I'm reading now, the China study, it just it's hard to argue with the results they've had. I mean, and then comparing it to other countries, what we're eating and what they're not eating what we are, and they're healthier, less, um, getting a chance of getting cancer. They're healthier, they live longer, obviously. So in comparing it and seeing the results, just in this book that I have over 800 references in there, from all the
Man.
top scientists in the world. So how you can argue? If you don't believe it, go to the data. And the study was done over 30 years, 3 decades of studying this, this information. And, they've done the research and going down to the cells and see what it does when we eat food, animal-based food. It's not healthy, and I'm very passionate about that. And I know I'm going to get some backlash from some of the students in class that, that's, it's wrong. But I've seen the results,
Same. Yeah.
annual exam, and my results were amazing. The doctor, he said he's never seen results like this in such a long time. My cholesterol was like nothing basically. My white blood cell count in my bones was up. My white blood cell just in my blood was way up. White blood cells help you prevent from diseases and viruses and bacteria and stuff like that. It's up. Um, my energy is amazing. Like workouts, I can go forever. On the bike, I can push myself harder. I can last longer on runs. I can lift heavier weights now too. So I sleep like a baby now. I hit the pillow and I'm out like a light. You know, it's nice. Before you put that stuff in your body, you don't really realize what it does to you physically, emotionally, mentally. Um, and my daughter went through that in college. I mean, her first year, she's a freshman there, and she was just eating junk, and she was very just moody and just tired all the time. It's like, well, that's probably what you put in your body.
Yep. True.
It does make a huge difference, and you don't necessarily, it's kind of hard to get off meat. I totally agree because we've been eating all our lives. For me, it was a no-brainer, so I went cold turkey.
I did too. Yeah, I did too. I
it,
went.
it, it was a no-brainer for me, and my body composition is totally changed dramatically. And my daughter still says that. It's like, what do you do? I go, I don't eat that meat. I don't eat meat. It's just all fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes. That's what it is. You know,
That's true. Yeah.
and it's hard to get him to that. My son, like I mentioned, he's autistic, so I've been slowly weaning him off the meat. And it's made a difference already. And he doesn't like sweets anyway, so which is good. But I'm trying to get him more veg. I hide him in the food now, so he's still getting those vegetables. But it's made a huge difference in his life. His motor skills, his speech has improved a lot. His reading skills have shot up in the past couple months just from that. I mean, at least that's what I'm thinking it is. It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, and I think most people don't realize the benefit that your
Yeah.
nutrition adds to the academic part of it.
Yeah.
Like like I focus more. I'm
Yeah.
not as jittery, or as you stated before, I don't feel like I got the sugar slump, from eating
Yeah.
junk food and stuff like that. So,
We don't
uh,
only eat it for our muscles. We
right,
eat it for our mind. It supplies the right nutrients for our brain to function properly, for those neurons to fire the way they need to fire properly.
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, reading this book, and we have cells in our body, you know that. So we have the good cells and the bad cells. The bad cells are going to feed off that junk we put in our body. The good cells are going to feed off the good food so they can fight off the bad cells. So
That's
just
true.
even that basic analogy is like, well, it's pretty obvious what I should be doing, and it's really hard and difficult. I know.
So I have two more questions for you, and
Yeah.
I definitely have appreciated the conversation. But this one, just know this one is directly from my wife. Like she came up with this entire question on her own, and she wanted to make sure that I asked you this question. So her question is there a difference in the way women should train versus men? And what are some common misconceptions in this area?
No, they should not train any differently. Why should they? You know, they move the same way we do. They
Right.
lift the same way we do. Um, I think misconceptions that women can't lift as much weight as men. Well, yeah, that is true. That part is true. But that doesn't mean we can't. They can't do deadlifts. They can't do push presses. They can't do bicep curls, air squats, back squats, front squats. There's no reason they should train any different. You know, you look like I'm just big in the CrossFit world because it does bring everyone together, the women and the men. The only difference, they do the exact same movements, just lighter weight, and it's not that much lighter weight either. you know, it's just the way it is because genetics, women just don't have the upper body strength that men have, but they shouldn't train any differently. I mean, I don't know what some of the other misconceptions, but I think that's the biggest one is that they can't do the weight.
Right.
Um, what has she mentioned some of the misconceptions or some ideas that it's kind of maybe discourage her from doing resistance training, or
Oh,
has she?
absolutely. I have a list.
What
uh
are some?
so one of the things that she brought up was okay, so my wife has long arms. In fact, her wingspan is my like she basically have my wingspan. Like she
Yeah,
can wear my shirts and her wrists come out at the end.
yeah,
Her of course she's not as bulky as I am, but
yeah,
her wingspan is the same as mine.
yeah.
She worries that if she was to lift heavier weight, that it would, increase the size of her shoulders or maybe give her bigger biceps or something, something like that. And
Her
so
muscles
she
are
worries
gonna.
about that.
She's gonna get stronger though, but
Hmm.
she's not gonna get big and bulky. Um, it might be in her genetics to get bigger muscles than most women. I don't know, but she'll get stronger. That's the more thing. She might gain some muscle tone, which is good. We want that, and I think a misconception I think a lot of women still have is being skinny.
Yep,
That you need to be thin, but the important thing is to be strong. I think you know it
that's
doesn't
true.
matter if you can lift 400 pounds, but you're lifting. She's going to get muscle tone. So having those long arms, lifting weights, yeah, it's good to be strong. That's what we want to do.
That's true. Yeah, and I think uh that's one of the biggest reasons that we decided not to work out together anymore because she felt that my workout or my specific way of training was not the way the specific training that she needed for her body type. And
No,
so
yeah, they no, they can do everything. I mean, it's universal. I mean, they
right.
can do everything we can, every type of movement. They just do have to do lighter weight. I mean, again, you and your wife are built different. You're going to get more muscle because you're a guy. That's just part of it. She's probably going to lose more fat, but still gain some muscle.
Right.
Because they obviously need more fat than we do. But she's going to get strong, and that's the most important thing. And that's kind of the thinking, the mindset that we need to put into women nowadays. And I think it's changing too. Slowly. I love seeing women that are strong. There's women in my gym that
Yeah.
can outlift me. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I think
It
that's
is.
so
Yeah.
sweet. You know, and they've taken that misconception that I can't do the same as a guy when they can, and maybe even better in most cases.
Yeah. I was about to
Um,
say, yeah, I've seen my share of women that can outlift me, squats, bench press,
yeah,
deadlifts.
and I love, I my kids come to me when I work out in the gym. I love them seeing that too. I love them seeing these women climb up a rope or doing back squat 200 pounds or doing burpees and killing themselves on the bike. I love seeing that because that shows them the worth ethic and that they can do it. It shouldn't be a difference between guys and girls working out. So
That's true.
that's a big thing. Yeah.
Well,
And I see that downstairs in the gym. I really don't see that kind of misconception down in the gym. I mean, because that's the building we're in, but everyone's, girls are doing bench press. The guys are doing bench press. They're doing squats. They're doing hip thrusts. They're all doing the same thing. So it's kind of cool to see. I like that change. It's changed a lot since I've been here. I'll tell you that.
right.
The women
Yeah.
aren't scared. I mean, women used to be scared going downstairs because it
And
can
now
be.
sometimes they outnumber the guys sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that too, and they work like crazy down there. It's awesome seeing it. Yeah,
Well, that's I'm just glad that now I can tell my wife we can go back to working out together.
we can do the exact same workout. Yep, the only thing is she's just gonna do lighter, and she is gonna get stronger. She might get some muscle tone. She's like, oh, I like that.
See.
My weight training class, like I know I see them, like, oh my gosh, you have triceps now. It's like, yeah, I noticed that in the mirror the other day. It's awesome. I was like, that's sweet. You want
Yeah,
that?
exactly. See, yeah.
You
So
know?
now she doesn't. I'm gonna say, hey, that's an excuse. You heard the podcast. You can clearly do the same exercises I do. There's no
Yep,
problem with that.
exact same exercises. Yep, there's no discrepancy when you're in the gym.
So I have just one last question for you, and then we are finished here. All right.
Yeah.
So the last question is, in your opinion, what are key concepts, whether it be nutrition, exercise, etc., that you feel people should know before beginning a life of fitness? So obviously, you know that January is coming soon,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
everyone New Year's resolution is gonna be inclusive of living, being more fit, living a healthier life. And
Yes.
so I kind of want to help them with that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, they had that New Year's resolution of, yeah, I want to start running, run a marathon by the end of the year, or I want to eat better. That's a big one. That's a big thing in fitness. They want to eat better. So I think the process is this: you have to take it in baby steps. You really do. Like you're gonna have to plan. You're gonna have to just sit down and make a plan. And people don't like to do that because it takes time, but that's the only way that we can get things done. And I make a list every day of what I need to do, or they won't get done. I have a menu I have every week. I know what I need to put in my bodies, but taking baby steps, like the first week, say, hey, I drink 4 pops a week. I'm going to take away 1 week, 1 pop, on one day, um, just do that or to eat less candy. It doesn't have to be eliminating because you can't, most people can't just go cold turkey, you know. So again, and the book emphasizes that too, which I like. You just have to take baby steps, you know, and you have to take time and be patient. That's another one is being patient about it too, because you're not going to get that 6 pack right away or
Mm.
run that marathon right away. It's just not going to happen. But again, I think it all has to start with the diet. I mean, the, like I would say, going to gym's easy. Eating,
Hmm.
that's the tough part, and fueling your body properly, which you eat before you work out, and you have to do your research and figure out what works for you. Like if I had plant diet, my plant diet is probably not going to work for you, you know.
Right.
So we have to play around with that and just slowly implement new things, and you might enjoy. Say, oh, I am getting a lot more energy from eating maybe 2 servings of vegetables nowadays, you know. And I really like green peppers, and I feel good when I like green peppers. Maybe I should start maybe implementing some, I don't know, Brussels sprouts or something like that, whatever, or a different colored vegetable every week. Try a different colored vegetable. There's so many vegetables out there; it's mind blowing, and they all
It
do
is.
different things for your body too.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the biggest thing about just starting New Year is just take it slowly. It's gonna take time, but you will see the results if you stick with it. You're consistent with it, and you have support system too. Your wife has you, maybe other family members. You can encourage them. You can do it together. Again, you can eat together too. That's not different from men and women.
Right.
Little things about diet, but so
That's
taking
true.
the baby steps, being consistent, and not giving up. It's easy to give up. You know, um, it's really hard, and I try to emphasize it is really hard, but you can do it if you believe in yourself and figure out what gets you motivated to do it too.
That's true.
So
And I
yeah, my my goal is to be just because I know my dad had a heart attack. He's not biologically my dad, but he had a heart attack at age 50. Because he retired early, he was just sitting down eating junk food. And my sister passed away when she was 35 of a heart attack. So there's a lot more motivation for me to eat better since I don't know my family history and my background, my genetics. So it's like, well, this is more reason to stay motivated and stay on top of what I'm doing.
and I love the I love the way you said just you got to be patient,
Yeah.
because going back early into the conversation, you mentioned something that's just sort of made me think about this idea of instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
You said you've been doing this for years, for over 10 years, to
Yeah.
get to where your blood, sweat, and tears been put into this and everything. And I know a lot of people who starts working out that first week, and in the first week alone they've hit the scale like 20 times. I'm like, dude,
Oh
it's
yeah.
only been week one. Like,
Yeah.
the enjoy the process, enjoy the burn, let it settle in, just continue going, continue going. Like, don't stop and quit just because you don't see instant results. Like, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big one for people.
That scale's a tough one because people like to see the results right away. And I think in today's age and society, and that's what they want. They want that instant gratification. I want to see results right away. And it does, like I said, it has taken me 10 years to get where I am. It's taken a long time. Um, but again, you have to figure out what works for you.
That's
The
true.
age of TikTok is that right away, and all that stimulation. It's not like that. It's not that easy. If it was, everyone would do it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I've definitely appreciated it. I've learned a lot since being in the class, and I just felt that a lot of these questions did come from me and what I thought were super interesting in class and could definitely help people in my generation. But
yeah.
of course, I mean, just you being on, sharing your wisdom on these particular questions have definitely been helpful, especially for me. But I'm sure it'll be helpful for everyone that listens. So
Well, I thank you
thank
for
you so
having
much,
me.
Mr. Ben.
I thank you for having me. I mean, I appreciate it. And, hopefully your listeners will get some out of it, and most likely they'll be more likely to listen to you than me, since you're their age too, which is a good thing. You know, I fear sometimes it just goes out one ear and out the other in some of my students. But you know, I've lived a long time. I know what works and gone through the pains, and I don't want you guys to go through those things.
Right.
We're trying to give you that knowledge and help you lead you on the path and the right way to go and eat and be physically active, not in all the dimensions. Yep.
Right. Well, I definitely appreciate that. Thank you so
You've been a
much.
great student too, Daniel, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. See, I got to
Oh,
tell my wife that I got to brag on that part.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I love it. I love when students ask questions and they question things. That's what I really appreciate. And they see that light and they want to be better. That makes me feel good. They're making themselves healthier and better.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be on the podcast and
Oh, my
really
pleasure.
appreciate that.
Thank you.